Okay, so welcome to the TOC meeting on 2nd of September, not yet December. Share my screen. Go. We have the usual agenda, review actions from last week, then an update by the working group foundational infrastructure, review of the community board, any other business, and that's it. Review actions from last week. There were none. That is easy. Then we can hand over to Ruben for the workgroup update.
Yeah. Let me share my screen. Can you stop sharing?
Sure.
AI is still generating the working group update, but in the meantime, I created a PR. I've been playing around today with some tooling. Let me see. Still a draft. So this is the PR. This is the working group update that it generated. But I created a script and everything to do a dump of like the latest activity in a working group for a given charter, and then use open code to analyze the data and generate an update. So I have a prompt and everything. But I'm still not like the results are still a bit mixed, like everything with AI, I guess. But yeah, that's here. We'll keep working on that.
Are you able to see, is everyone else able to see Ruben's screen? I'm seeing it mostly blacked out.
Yeah, I see the menu, but
Yeah,
not the content.
Yeah, we see maybe the top 20% and then the rest is darkness. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so here's the PR. Still a draft. Still working on it. So my idea was to create an updates directory in the working groups where people, or we can have actually written working group updates generated if this becomes good enough. I'm trying to balance like like it shouldn't be too verbose, but also it needs to have content. So yeah, experimenting with that. So things it identified. I mean, dual stack is a big area. IPv dual stack. That's we have the RFC and the implementation is well underway. I believe this, but this is outside of our working group, but it's being mentioned, so I'm still having to tweak the prompt to take that into account. But yeah, I believe it's kind of working. At least it's being. Not everything has been merged, but it has been tested to work end to end. I believe. So the big one is still the dual stack support in the director. There's a big PR that we have been going back and forth on. This is the agent that it found. Yeah, so we also have the AWS one, and I believe there's more. They were in previous iterations of this. I'm still iterating on getting all the content here. And the reason why I'm doing this is because there's areas within our working group that I have less that I'm less involved with, and there's work happening there, but it gets, I don't know, it's not being mentioned in these updates typically. So for example, apparently there's been a lot of stuff happening in the Prometheus area. Done by Benjamin Goodman, and yeah, here just the list of people that worked on it and the related updates. some work on the alley cloud to get noble stem cells working. We have the initiative around the storage infrastructure, where there was an RFC, and we're restructuring our working group so that we can have people from which working group was it again, Stephan?
Ari.
Up runtime interfaces.
Ari. Up runtime, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Can have we can collaborate on the storage infrastructure. And then in previous iterations, there were also mentions of things that happened in the CredHub and UAA area. It's currently missing. That's what it's currently working on to add that back. But from memory, it was a lot of dependency updates and Spring, like major bumps of Spring Boot and everything, right? So like major work happening there to address some technical depth. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. It's gonna be a PR.
Hey, Ruben,
right?
is this also?
PR.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you was continuing to speak. Is this going to be on similar lines to what you're presenting at CF Day?
No, that's different.
That's
that I still need to build or make, but this is just an experiment.
Yeah, or get an AI to make for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the update. Any questions?
This update, is it already in the, so can I reference it, or is it in the repo, or is
Yeah,
it
it's
PR?
part of this PR. This file is in the so
Okay.
there's a draft PR. There's a link.
Mm-hmm.
So this link should work. It's on the Foundation Working Group Updates branch.
Okay, I will find it and link it then.
Yeah. And I will keep iterating on making it a bit better. But yeah, I don't know. Would be nice to get better working group updates with less effort. But I mean, especially like to cover, like, because doing it from memory is, I mean, you miss things, especially that are outside of the areas that
That's
you're
right,
focused
yeah.
on, especially for the foundational infrastructure working group, because it's so big. So that's why I was trying to get a better solution in place.
Good. I think the question, what can the TOC do for you, is irrelevant. Because
Make AI better. Make it do what I want.
Okay, then let's go to the community board. There seem to be no open PRs. RFCs. Okay, let's start with the one in progress.
Are there no open PRs because Bayhunt hasn't been tagging the appropriate ones with the TOC tag?
I checked them. These are all the PRs.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to double check because I know stuff only appears
most
on
of
that.
them are tagged.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
remove branch protection. Okay, this is one for foundational infrastructure, I guess. But everything else seems to be. Good. Custom stacks functionality. If I remember correctly, here's the discussion in progress. And something is. Sorry, I'm not sharing anymore, right? Good. The first one was custom stacks, if I remember correctly. For some reason, the scrolling doesn't work. There were some updates. Yeah, keeping it open or starting final comment period? What's your opinion? no opinion means discussion remains open.
I don't know. It seems like there's not necessarily any like areas of super active discussion currently.
There's this one topic area is a simple Docker reference and using the Docker lifecycle basically as is for this custom stack functionality enough, or do we need the full-fledged solution with blob store and on registry that ships with Cloud Foundry? I think this is one topic. Yeah. It's also a question about the scope or the use case where this custom stacks wants to be used. So the initial proposal here, let's say the use case that comes from SAP is basically use it as a possible resolution for customer escalations when we turn off a stack. And there I would say the Docker solution is good enough, or even better than good enough. Because usually if somebody has an application on a very ancient stack, security is not considered anymore. Availability is also not the most urgent question. Yeah, there are very sad dialogues sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so basically that's about like providing tooling, right? Like the pack CLI, something like that. So like take a V2 build pack and a stack image, right? And create
The idea here was much simpler. We offer the, for instance, CF Linux FS3 simply as a Docker image. That's it.
Mm-hmm. We already
if it's
do,
not
right?
already there, and then we simply say, please use this URL and put it, configure it as a custom stack, and that's it. Because if you start to, the customer should do something like compile, because only too often the sources are not available anymore for this running application. So these situations all happen, and then you are in this shitty situation where something needs to be done by the customer, and they simply say, no, but you cannot break our application. And
so
this
we're
is
saying
something
the
where we
source
can
is not
say,
even available.
yeah,
right. So basically,
all
you
happens.
want to.
All happen such situations. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that this is always the case, but I mean, if the customer would be willing to do something, then porting it over to the next stack is usually much simpler than porting it to pack CLI or something.
Makes
It's
sense.
not because there is a very obscure dependency that cannot be updated. That at least I'm not aware of such a case. It is usually just we have to do anything, and no, we haven't planned it, and the consultants are gone, and the sources we don't know, and things like that.
Yeah, so
For
it's
that, I would
basically
say
about buying time, right? Because in the end,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's squeezing out the customers from the bad technical applications and make it aware that they have to do something. The same procedure like with V2 or yeah, whenever there comes a time when you cannot escape anymore and you have to either abandon your apps or invest a little bit. But you, if you do something like deprecate something, you also have to
Because
provide
that
a
means
procedure.
that like they stay running then, right? But then at some point there becomes there's an incompatibility with the kernel because you bump to a new stem cell, and then they break. They still break, but silently.
Yeah. Sooner or
Until
later,
you
happen.
add that feature to install kernel from an NFS server.
Okay. We're just
Yeah.
gonna build shadow IT at some point, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not the right path, but yeah.
It's a hard one, this one.
I mean, the
Like,
stacks
I
area is
understand the
always
use case,
has
but
always
it's
been
like
difficult.
it's a slippery slope.
Oh yeah, that's it is. But the same is true for those who run on FS3. That is still. I mean, there's no difference, right? Whether we ship it via CF itself, we also don't know if it works tomorrow. And honestly, I I wouldn't care if it breaks. But there are other people who care, and would be a funny discussion when this actually happens. I would enjoy this escalation. But yeah, so the risk of not working anymore on FS3 is independent of this custom with Docker container stack version, or whether we ship it via blob to the Diego cells directly. It's the same shitty technical solution. But we could reduce the usage in landscapes by making it more and more difficult. So if you bring out something like your customer has to configure a custom stack, everything works without recompilation, etc. But just by enforcing this cuts the number of FS3 applications by 2 or maybe even more. That's the observation.
To clarify, it's a combination, right, of custom build pack with custom stack in this RFC, because those two are dependent on each other.
Probably.
Yep.
And unless you're an
Probably.
operator who just leaves every build pack hanging around indefinitely.
Yeah. The current situation on certain foundations look like this, that the old stack is still there and the old build packs also not updated since 1850 are still there for FS3. And people are still using it. I mean, most of the applications actually migrated meanwhile, but still a few thousand.
Okay, so but then there's also, but then how does the deprecation of build packs work?
I mean,
Because then
I think
we moved
the
it,
build
we
build
switched
pack
it,
feature already exists today. So
yeah, you can configure a build pack and reference the old version from GitHub.
Yeah, I know, but shouldn't that be like a requirement to be using custom stacks? Like, it shouldn't. Ideally, it doesn't work with system build packs. Because otherwise you basically can never update or deprecate your system build packs because there's custom stacks that are dependent on them, right? Like then you basically have that same problem.
Well, I think at the
it makes
point
it harder to.
At that point, it's the app developer's problem to figure out.
Yeah, the dependency is from the application to the build packs, not from the stack to the build packs.
Yeah, this is potentially giving a release valve for platform operators to be able to say, listen, you have the tooling you need to pick your stack, pick your build pack, you go figure it out, rather than them being responsible for figuring it out.
Yeah, but like, when they are forced to use a custom stack, right? Like they want to use a custom stack. At the same time, shouldn't they also just switch to using a build pack from the internet instead of one that, like, bring your own build pack and bring your own stack? Shouldn't those two things be combined so that it only works that way? And not like, I don't like this custom stack with system build pack world. Like, that feels like
Honestly, I don't care.
It's about the
Maybe it works.
responsibility. It's
Yeah.
about the response. Yeah, it might work, right? But like, it's about who guaranteed. Like, what's the service being provided by whom, right? Like, as a platform operator, the platform is providing a certain service with certain guarantees, and we're pushing the responsibility
No.
for
Well,
the
actually,
stack
if somebody
to the
uses
developer.
if somebody uses a custom stack, or even today an outdated stack like FS3, we don't guarantee anything. But it's a difference not guarantee something versus I break a customer's application that is running and used. if I break it as a platform provider, well, bugs open and I will probably repair it. If the customer would open a bug, this and that doesn't work anymore on FS3, I will say, sorry, not maintained, and close the bug. And usually that works. And if we want to squeeze out or really remove FS3, then yeah, there's a potential that we break apps, and we need to somehow yeah, at least provide solutions. And the best solution is that the customer migrates, but this doesn't always happen. Let's say like this. Okay. I would suggest we continue with the discussion. Don't start with a final comment period. There's too much still open, and continue with the next one. There were no updates on this custom headers for this work train. Also on the Golang-based libvirt CPI. Enhanced stack handling. Here I know that Florian has reworked it, has taken out the timestamps, and now has done it on just on the state, so it's explicit stack handling, and it allows to deprecate a stack, etc. So from my point of view, I had only one minor comment because there is this reference to a wrong RFC number 41, which is, I think, the concourse, the foundation concourse. Meanwhile, but otherwise from content, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I like this RFC much better without the timestamps.
Yeah. Do you think we can start the final comment period on this one?
I think that's fine with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Ruben, do you have any thoughts or feelings?
I'm fine.
Okay. What is the next? 2nd, 9th September, 1 week. Okay. And then comes the Open API spec for the CFv3 API. Here we have started last time. There were no further comments, so I would say we can accept it and merge it. We need, okay, first I have to get rid of Behance. Okay, then we just miss Chris. Can you approve it as well? Then, yep, perfect. Then I can merge it. And remember correctly, we need an action item to generate the RFC number. Okay, now we do it. Good. And then we have one new RFC that is about disclosing AI tooling for contributions.
Yeah, I filed this. This is heavily inspired by Ghost TTY, which is the new Hashimoto project, if you aren't familiar with it, who's one of the creators of HashiCorp, introduced a policy requiring disclosure of AI tooling use, because they'd been seeing an influx of like low quality contributions generated by inexperienced AI tooling operators. So I thought it was an interesting policy that they introduced. It's pretty lightweight. It basically just says you have to disclose any tooling that you're using, just so the reviewers have a sense of what they're getting into. Um, so I threw together a quick RFC to see if we wanted to have a similar policy on CFF side.
This
So far,
RFC should use AI to generate this RFC, otherwise it's not believable.
I did disclose my AI usage or lack thereof in the PR.
We had so far, I think, one cloud controller PR generated by AI completely. That was an experiment by Philip. It needed a major rework after that, but that was clear from the beginning. I don't know the reality in coding, but at least for everybody at SAP, we always have somebody sitting beside us. That doesn't mean that this tooling is used heavily, but what is AI usage? Is it already, let's say, the slightly longer code completions, or do you consider only the agent mode of Copilot or things like that? That's a bit. I mean, the other extreme could be that you have like a standard comment in every PR.
Yeah, I mean,
AI may or may not have been used.
this area is changing so fast. Like 6 months ago, people wouldn't have said the word agent. So I think at least in the original policy, they tried to keep it pretty open to just cover AI generated code generically. And I like this RFC is also pretty weak in other ways because it's kind of left up to the working groups to figure out how they want to implement it. But I gave some potential options for disclosure. It could just be a note in the PR text itself. It could be including the AI tool if it's an agentic tool or something like that in as a co-committer on the uh, uh, like commits themselves. I think some tooling will do that for you automatically. Or it could be a tag in the commits, or it could be something else.
Yeah, just look at the draft PR that I'm currently creating, because I've written no code there. It's all agentic stuff there. So all the commits I believe are from me and my my companion, I guess. I believe it says
Ruben bot.
Ruben bot.
Yeah, Ruben bot.
Actually, it doesn't. Interesting. Okay, so this is not compliant at all.
Yeah, so this one PR that I mentioned has actually here a codex label, and I think there's also somehow here mentioned with ChatGPT codex connector somehow generated.
Yeah.
It
So
was
I
not
mean,
too
I think
bad.
that would like again, like I think that would conform with the expectations here. I think it's mostly just help giving approvers and reviewers something to lean on if they're facing uh, AI generated or yeah, AI generated contributions that are uh, difficult to negotiate with because the person submitting them are not necessarily don't necessarily know what they're submitting also.
So part of this, though, is you're relying on your bots to have enough intelligence to be able to put the labels on this. Might it be worth looking the other way? That if it's a human contributor who is written all the code by hand, maybe that deserves the special tag because it's the human that's going to want to put that tag on there to know that, hey, this was done by a human, so that when the movers go to look at it, they know this was a human contributor as opposed to a bot.
I mean, I think at least, again, in the short term, I think the expectation is that most PRs will be submitted by humans, even if all of the contents of those are not fully written by humans.
No, I
At
asked
the
the
point,
bot to create a PR. But sure, I don't know. I think it's good to at least have this in place so that we can reference to it, right? Like when we're reviewing something and it's like this smells like AI and we don't want to deal with it, right? But I mean, basically, what my problem with these PRs is that like sometimes it feels like the author has not looked at it, right? And then basically the review, as a reviewer, you're basically prompting again, right? So you're basically doing the coding at that point, or coding. You're doing the prompting, right? So your prompt or your review will go into the prompt, and then they will submit it back to you again, and that's really cheap for the person submitting the call or the PR. But you are the reviewers are actually doing the work at that point, right? Which becomes a bit of an issue, right? Because you're relying on people's goodwill to do reviews and submit their or contribute their time. But if it's so cheap to make a PR and it's actually not of enough quality, right, then it might it does not deserve the attention of reviewers.
Yep, that's exactly
And I
the
think
problem that
that's
this is trying to solve.
Yeah.
A classic denial of service attack where the cost of submitting a request is much lower than the cost of processing that request.
Yeah. And then it's good to have something here that we can refer to saying like, we're not going to review this. We like, it doesn't meet the bar, right? We expect things to have a minimum bar. And like, just from scanning this, we close this PR because it doesn't meet our minimum bar. And it's more of a, like, that always has been the case. It's just, it happens now more because of agentic stuff, right? More and more people feel like it's a lower bar to submit a PR because it's so cheap to do and generate stuff, but it doesn't mean it's worth reviewing.
Yeah.
So it's good to have something to refer to that you feel like I'm being backed by the TOC and the foundation in my decision to not review this PR.
Maybe we change it in the direction to say that reviewers or approvers can request the disclosure of AI, so that not if, let's say, the approvers of CAPI develop something, and every time you write in generated with AI, then there's no value anymore in it, because you will have this small sentence everywhere, because in fact most of the PRs are meanwhile at least AI contributed. I don't want to say they are written by AI, that's probably not yet the case, but at least AI helped.
But it's
And
more
it's
about
just
the
a spelling.
quality. Yeah, like the disclosure part is not that important. Like it's nice maybe, but it's the, like, if you have a good developer and they know what they're doing and they're using AI, then they can deliver something better, right? Like, but if you have something without someone without experience, then it at first sight might look like promising code, but then you dig a bit deeper and you feel like it falls apart, right? And there it's really wasted time of reviewers to try to get it in a good state.
I mean, that's partially why a lot of the enforcement around this is left up to the working groups, because, you know, if you're dealing with a contributor who is a regular contributor and like, you know, you have like trust their contributions and stuff like that, then like, you know, there's no like, I'm not proposing there be like a global bot or something like that that is, you know, hunting out AI contributions and like automatically closing PRs or anything like that. So it's up to the individual working group approvers and reviewers to determine how much of the policy they want to enforce in particular cases.
Yeah, I will probably
Yeah,
create a
that
bot
makes sense.
to identify them.
Yeah, so Ruben bot is on the hunt out there. You know, we're quickly approaching Blade Runner territory here. We need a replicant agent to go and hunt down replicant PRs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Create like a denial of service attack to their fork, right? Flood them with PRs against their fork.
But yeah, I agree that at the end of the day, quality is the problem, but it's, I think, harder to write an RFC that is like your code has to reach a certain quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, unless Ruben bot is the arbiter, it's like submit all your PRs to Ruben bot and it'll judge whether you pass the quality bar.
That bar is going to be way high. I know, Ruben. This is not going to be good for the rest of us. I
I
wasn't.
don't know. I'm still having issues with the disclosure aspect of it, right? Because I mean, disclosure is fine, but it focuses on the, like, you can interpret it as like we shouldn't be using AI, right? Because you need to disclose it, and that, like, it has like this, all AI is bad, right? Like, and that is not maybe the direction we want to go. So maybe it is better to try to at least describe the problem we're seeing with the quality, right?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just it reduces the cost of submitting low quality PRs. Like, there was nothing previously stopping people from submitting low quality PRs, but you generally had to like do some human processing before submitting low quality PRs, unless you know you're like changing the amount of white space or doing something like that. But that's pretty easy to sniff out. Now in this newer world, you can submit something that looks like a high quality PR, but it will not be upon closer inspection, be it closer inspection by a human or by Ruben bot.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a reviewer and you have a PR come in from a new contributor, and it also has a disclosure on it saying that this is entirely AI generated, then like that is definitely at the very least gonna give you the information you need going into it, rather than you having to kind of like suss it out yourself.
But you're still at the whim of the person that submitted that actually putting, hey, this was 100% AI generated.
Yeah, this is definitely not an ironclad policy. And I intentionally, well, I think again I'm largely copying this from Ghost GTY, but I think the intent for it is for it to not get in the way of people who are using AI responsibly and who are contributing high quality stuff, and mostly just have it catch the like lowest common denominator like contributions.
Probably
But I don't
makes
know.
sense to go read this PR.
Yeah,
The actual
they're all
change. We
they're
have
all
had a
pretty
lot of
small.
discussion. I've not read it, so I will probably go
Yeah.
do that.
Well, we're not in the final comment period, so we'll give people some time to chew on it and leave comments in the thread.
Thanks for doing this.
Okay.
Or we could just have a new RFC, which is all AI use is banned unless your name is Ruben.
Okay, RFC status. What do we have? IPv6, work in progress, as far as I know. Still a few open gaps. Hash-based load balancing, I think, as well. Service credential binding rotation is also in progress. Yeah, we need, I think, to split up the PR in order to roll it out without downtime. And blob store type also in progress. Manifest shared concourse instance. Haven't heard about any updates here, so I guess nothing more to add, unless you want to add something. If not, we can go to any other business. Reminder to register for CF Day. Yep.
Hey, I included that line.
Yeah.
Just sending out a lot of reminders to folks on social media and email and all of that stuff. Just thought I'd let you folks know as well.
Yep. Okay. Then I guess we are at the end of the agenda, unless you have another point. Not the case, then wish you a nice day or evening and see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Stephan. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care, folks.